Performance-based Christianity and living. This is something many people suffer with, and it needs to stop. I used to be like this. I think a lot of people, if they've been heavily critiqued growing up and were rewarded only when, for me, it was like academic and sports achievements. That was when I was rewarded, and lots of things became very much transactional. That was when you received like a well done or a gift or a reward. A lot of people can then, when they get saved, they bring this into Christianity and then can sort of superimpose that onto God, that God is only loving them and with them when they're doing absolutely everything right. Whereas we have to go through a sanctification process, so you're not going to get everything right. And God is loving, and God is love. Now, we shouldn't reject and ignore the severity of God, that if he was willing to cut off the initial branches, as it says in the scriptures, the Israelites who rejected their Messiah in Christ, then how much more will he not spare us who are the new branches? So we do still need to understand the severity of God, consider all things loss, all things dung, to gain the excellency of Christ. So that means our way of thinking, our own desires, all of that needs to die, and God will mold us and shape us into his desires and his ways, and we will then delight in that. But there's a two sort of party process there, us and God being the ultimate authority who makes it happen. But we have to be the willing recipient of that. But with regards to performance-based life and Christianity, I used to have it where if I was just getting things wrong, it was like, oh, God may as well hate me, and I might as well just, get lost, and I'm a useless Christian, and blah, blah, blah. And it was a deep stronghold. And that was something the enemy could use against me massively in my mind, in my emotions, and just life in general. But the thing is, if you're actually a Christian, the enemy's terrified of you. So the enemy will try stopping you praying. When you do pray, when you do actually go out and do stuff, the enemy will attack you. The enemy will enter vessels who he can, use them against you. The enemy will try and use circumstances. Look, the enemy tried to stop the disciples and Jesus from getting over in the sea, in the waters, to stop that thing happening with the Gadarene demoniac. So the enemy knows certain things. The enemy knew when Moses was born that there was going to be trouble, so they tried killing all the kids. Same with Jesus, they tried killing all the kids. The enemy knows certain things and will try and stop things from happening, causing distractions, trying to bring sin and all this other stuff in. But people need to understand that we're on a process and a journey with God, and stop putting yourself to standards that are of the flesh, because we can't walk this out in the flesh. It's impossible to please God if we're living in the flesh and we're not living by spirit-led faith and confidence and trust in God. So I hope this encourages someone that you don't need to live a performance-based Christianity. Examine yourself, fine. We should all examine ourselves to see if we're in the faith, but understand that there's a journey that we're going on. God's not chosen us and seen all this potential in us that is going to be actualized today. It takes time, because we have to actually understand this stuff. And we're still in these earthen, corrupt vessels which are dying, We're all aging, we're all dying, and we're not going to have these bodies one day. We'll have glorified bodies, thankfully. So people need to understand this and really walk in God's truth, and stop thinking just because things are going wrong that God must hate you. It says he chastens and scourges those who he loves. And literally, God has to discipline us as a father does a child. Otherwise, he's not doing his job. But he's doing it out of love and for our benefit. So God bless.